Okay, now that we got the light stuff out of the way, let's get to the big ones here. What's the deal with Mrs. Huang? Did she die? Did she come back to life thanks to Lumon? Does she have any family ties to Gemma, or is she Gemma's and Mark's daughter? Let's start with, did she die at one point? Going back to the scene where she introduced herself to the MDR department, she mentions her last job was one of a crossing guard. Now, as many of you has pointed out, as you can see on the screen now, for example, now as the commenter AR said, I think Miss Huang was chosen because she's presumed dead on the outside and that they needed a child so that they wouldn't be any violence towards her the way Dylan attacked Milkshake, which by the way, I think we should call Milkshake for the rest of this season. But a very interesting comment here, but also following that up by this one here. As Cubs Cowboy says, I think Mrs. Huang actually died, kind of like Mrs. Casey, and she's a clone or something, could have died at her crossing guard job. Now, the rest of the comment that they talk about here about Helena, we'll talk about that later in the video, but focusing on that last point here, let's make some connections. We know that it's believed that Gemma died in a car accident. Could Miss Huang have been there? Did she have anything to do with the actual car accident? Now let's think about this. Her being a crossing guard, Gemma allegedly being killed in a car accident, but let's add more fuel to this fire. Now, for those that have read the Lexington letter, the story that focused on the ex-Lumon employee by the name of Peggy. Now, spoiler warning for those that plan on reading it but haven't read it quite yet. I'm going to spoil something about it, so you have been warned. But for those that have read it like myself, it was revealed that after Jim Milchick shut down Peggy's story, we learned that Peggy died in a car accident. Obviously, Lumon has something to do with Peggy's death. If you all read the story, you all know what went down, what she discovered. But that makes 2 car accidents that's been mentioned in the show, and Mrs. Huang being a crossing guard doesn't seem like a coincidence.